This program is part of the Infinite Potato Alliance. Visit us at infinitepotato.com.
I'm Jared Stern. I think people should listen because we're desperate for attention right now.
I'm also Jared Stern. This is what I like to call an exercise in benign narcissism.
And you're Between Two Sterns.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
Hi.
Welcome back to Between Two Sterns, where we occasionally give you podcasts to listen to.
Hey, for those people binging all 500 episodes of these sometime in the future, you're not going to notice.
You're not going to know that there's a little gap here and there.
So welcome back, everyone. Some exciting stuff today, which we don't know. We don't know what the topic's going to be today.
It's so exciting because we don't know what we're going to talk about.
You have stuff today that you said was exciting, so let's get to it. What's going on?
I don't know if it's exciting, but I found it to be amusing, and also because we skipped last week. That last weekend was mine and Andrea's 11th wedding anniversary.
Amazing.
So happy belated anniversary, honey. Also, it was my dad's birthday.
Yes.
So that was a thing, and we did that, and it was exactly what I expected it was going to be. Yeah. Any case, so to celebrate our anniversary, we actually share an anniversary weekend with some very good friends of ours. And we went to the theater. Mm-hmm. We went to the Olney Theater to see the musical Beautiful. Have you heard of it?
I have not.
It is the life and times of Carole King. Do you know who Carole King is?
Maybe, but not by name.
Okay. She is a very well, not very famous, but like she's written a lot of the songs from the 60s, 70s, 80s. And this is about her life growing up as a young struggling musical producer.
Sure.
And writing lyrics, and how those songs came to be. And she had a very
so she didn't write this musical. This is a musical about
this
her.
is a musical about her. Yes.
This is not the greatest song in the world. This is just a tribute.
This is just a tribute.
Yes. It's a tenacious. Yeah. So this. Okay, gotcha.
Yes. So this was a musical celebrating all of her work.
Very tick tick boom. Very that kind of genre.
I've never seen Tick Tick Boom,
but the same premise, which is a musical about. Has any musician director been bold enough to write their own autobiography musical and create their own music for their own musical?
I don't know.
Okay.
To be continued on that. Anyway, so the way that things work at the Olney Theater, so there's a really nice theater indoors, mm-hmm. and then because it was the summertime, they had an outdoor concert series happening. Outside of the theater, there was a Queen cover band called Almost Queen, which, by the way, Queen is currently Almost Queen. So they were playing outside while the show was going on inside. And in the show's quieter moments, you could hear things bleed through, which kind of took away from some of the more dramatic moments, like when her husband, after he suffers a nervous breakdown and he's in the hospital, and they're discussing their relationship and where to go from there. And you can hear bleeding through the walls, "We are the champions." Yeah. And when I tell you the entire back row where me and my friends are sitting, and then across the aisle, we could see another whole row of people like mime singing along to "We Are the Champions." Mm-hmm. That also happened again to the beat to the part of Bohemian Rhapsody right before it kicks in with the headbang. It was its own little inset entertainment.
I like that.
To go along with the entertainment.
I feel like there's a real synergy there of like this husband sitting there in the hospital, the wife not knowing what to do, and all of a sudden you just hear, "Mama just killed a man." Yeah. That's a whole new level to that.
It was interesting. So that was a really good time. It was a great show, but that was just a fun kind of thing to have to enjoy along with it.
Yeah.
So that was the only main thing that I had going on in our off week. Also, just to remind everybody to check out jaredstern.com for all of the great chances you have to see me perform.
Yeah.
Specifically, September 14th at the Stoltz Listening Room inside the Avalon Theater in Easton, Maryland. I will be headlining 2 shows. Go to jaredstern.com. All of your ticket information is located therein.
And to see me, you should open up your Spotify app and swipe up, because there's a video of this.
Yeah.
And this is about as close as you're getting to see me right now.
Because he's too busy to get on stage.
I am busy to get on stage. But I'm not too busy to figure out what 3 topics we're going to talk about.
I can't wait to find out.
And this time, instead of typing it all out, I'm going to speak the dictation.
Please.
The dictation. Really choked on the dick in that dictation just then.
Wow.
Which I hesitated to say, but I would have said in any other context. Yeah, so let's see. What do we have set parameters this time, similar to what we were doing before?
I mean, so far it's come up with 2 topics that I thought were fine.
Valid. I'd love to narrow the topics a little bit more. So let's see if we can. Please provide 3 different topics that 2 comedians can talk about on a podcast, ideally with opposing points of view that can be taken. And let's not do anything with food. I feel like you keep giving me food stuff on here. And let's avoid food or any opinions about pop culture or movies or TV shows.
Are you currently dictating right now?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I think we even got the "Are you currently dictating right now?"
Well, you can go ahead and
let's see what my good friend got it. Here are 3 non-food, non-pop culture podcast ideas with potential. Number 1, the value of higher education versus self-learning.
Okay.
Number 2, work-life balance versus hustle culture.
Oh, yeah.
And number 3, city life versus rural life. Rural life. We can reset and try something else.
I mean, okay. I feel like we could probably speak to work-life balance versus hustle culture.
Yeah.
Being comedians, and
that's
also
true.
With your current completely unbalanced work-life balance, it's mostly work. And mine is mostly life. So
I got 3 more options.
Okay,
I won't read the other 2, but I do like the third one.
Okay,
which is living with pets versus pet-free living.
Oh, I mean, we both have pets.
I think that this is
so. We're gonna basically just speak in the pro. I'm gonna say here because I can't imagine a world where I don't have a pet, and I've lived in both worlds. I've both not had a dog and now have had a dog for coming up on 7 years. I think it's amazing that because of the way that dogs age, Winnie and I will be the same age.
That's true.
We're racing alongside each other to 49. Can't wait.
I think that a lot of these topics are just things that we would ultimately agree on, which makes it difficult. I just picked up 3 more, and this is
3 more. I thought we were talking about pets.
No, I thought you said that the pets would be too we would just agree with.
But you have a cat. I have a dog.
I know. So here's the final 3. You're going to pick whichever one of the ones we've talked about.
All right, we've gone through. This is the nine topics for us to pick.
There are no rules. There are no rules. Is technology is making life easier versus making us dependent?
Mm.
Number 2, the benefits of social media versus the harm of social media.
Oh, God.
And number 3, taking big risks versus playing it safe.
Well,
which of those 9 topics?
I mean, I think we can both agree that social media is causing irreparable harm.
You know what? Let's unpack it. Let's go social media.
Okay.
So the benefits of social media versus the harm that social media
I feel like we don't, as a species, understand the quantum leap that we have taken over the last 20 years when it comes to A, the internet, and B, social media.
Yeah.
I feel like it has rewired our brains. Mm-hmm. We are now dopamine chasing me monkeys,
right?
And all we want to do is just make sure we show people something that's happened in our lives, and that if they hit a like button, then the little dopamine happens in our brain, and we're happy. We think we're happy.
Right.
We're not actually happy.
I just want to be clear because I'm just interpreting from tone right now. You're saying all of this is a bad thing.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. Cool.
I think it's awful. I think it's okay. We have.
And go on.
We have stunned ourselves stupid with all the information that we have at our disposal. I could drop an entire set of encyclopedias on my head and not do the brain damage that social media has done to me in the last, 10 years.
Sure. I'm gonna scale it back a little bit because I think you've given your opening thesis statement.
Please.
And for the first time ever, I agree that social media is a dangerous area and there is harm within social media. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna approach this from the other side.
Please.
I think that as a species, and the way I define species is humans.
Yeah, that's what I was going with.
Human beings.
Yeah.
Being human.
Yeah.
We have gone through multiple iterations of some form of communicative or technological advancement every X number of years.
Sure.
Ever since the aliens left after they built the
pyramids. Since they built the pyramids, right.
And every generation has this mindset that this newest thing that comes in is causing some sort of damage. And that's just where I'm starting from. I'm not making any firm points.
Okay.
I'm just letting you know where I'm going to be approaching this conversation from. So you believe, and I believe I heard you correctly, we can go back to the tape, that, and I just want to be clear, you could drop multiple encyclopedias on your head.
Yes, and not do the brain damage that has. And
for some of our listeners, an encyclopedia is a book.
It's a very heavy book full of knowledge.
When we assumed that knowledge was had and then done,
if it was a static thing,
it was done. Knowledge occurred and then finished. They put it in a big book.
Right.
And you bought them in sets that you would keep, and if you had an idea...
I assume that they would update encyclopedias as the years went by, things happened.
Back in the day, when you wanted to know if something was something...
You went to the World Book Encyclopedia.
You read... Or
the Encyclopedia Britannica.
You just speculated that was the case. You just wondered if that's what is. There was no way to instantaneously check to know if the thing that you wanted to know was the thing.
Not instantaneously, but there were... Books were available.
But what I'm saying is, if you got into a conversation with a friend of yours and was like, I wonder about blank.
If you wanted to settle a bar bet.
If you wanted to settle a conversation, at this present time, you could then pull out your phone and instantaneously get this information.
I'm not saying...
this is not the same thing. I'm not comparing the two. You could instantaneously get this information. Mm-hmm. I don't know of anyone to this day who is so... stubborn that they don't just get that information and would just let it be. But back in the day, you had to let it be.
I understand that, and I'm not saying that ease of access of information.
And I'm not either. I was just explaining that an encyclopedia was one of the long routes to that information.
Sure.
What I'm saying is, over the years in society, social media has condensed and streamlined all of the things we were already doing into instantaneous, quantifiable reaction data. So you said in your opening statement that people are just generating and churning out memes to get that like button, and that like button's doing a dopamine fix. And I have to imagine that part of you might be a little frustrated because prior to the social medias, people used to go to comedy clubs to hear people like you do this professionally.
Listen,
now they're mainlining the crack version of it in the alleyways off of Instagram and TikTok.
Well, that's part
as opposed to coming to the pure cocaine that is the comedy club.
Yes, obviously that does have something to do with it. Is in that it has made celebrity a lot. The term celebrity has been diluted.
Yes.
Down from what it used to be. It was back in the day Hollywood, and then television, music, and now there are social media stars because you can cultivate the same kind of audience that you could go to a movie to go see. That kind of audience. And
celebrity, by the way, obviously from the root word celebration, to be excited or extravagant over the idea of seeing somebody.
Yeah, I think people know what celebrities are.
Yeah, but I don't know if they know that it comes from the word celebration.
I didn't know. I didn't. And
I don't know either. But it could. It sounds right.
But that, my friend, is part of my point.
Yeah.
Because people on social media put out all kinds of information, unverifiable information. And if they have large followings and other people just believe the shit they say, then that information then just becomes as good as going to the encyclopedia was for us when we were kids.
Right, but then my question... So I think we need to separate social media into multiple different sections. But to pivot on your point, how is that any different than news channels spitting out biased information to newspapers back in the 20s and 30s that were putting down like the Union riots, like making up all of this information back then? How is this any different than the town criers?
There was a lot
of the medieval times, singing a bell. The whole... Christian Revolution, the whole Spanish Inquisition was about people out there on the streets providing false information. At least in social media, the information is stated there, and then a very toxic and disrespectful debate can occur about that information within the chain.
Yeah, but what it does is it gives people a voice that don't necessarily need or should have.
And I would also say that it also has the capability to give a voice to people who should but wouldn't ever be able to have a voice.
Yeah, I get it. It amplifies all the sources.
Right.
And if you amplify everyone, right, then no one necessarily is a trusted resource anymore.
I think you have two drastic different mindsets, right? On the one hand, social media, without social media, I don't think you have the flat earth society being as large as it is, right? It's just people who are finding each other who are just like, well, this thing's absurd.
Sure.
But at the same point, without social media, I don't think you have the Me Too movement either. You know, on the one hand, without social media, I don't think you have Donald Trump in the way that you have him. And on the other hand, without it, I don't think you have Black Lives Matter in the way that we needed it. I think that there's definitely extremes on either end. I just don't want to come at... My point is to not only come at it from one point of view.
Well, I understand. Well, that's why we have the two Jared Starks for alternate point of views. Look at
what's happening. This is the first time.
That's why we have two different Jared Starks here. All right. Well, my main complaint about social media,
right,
and I'm as much a part of the problem as anybody,
right,
is that like Twitter and Facebook.
What's Twitter?
I'm not calling it that.
Do you mean Elon X?
FKA Twitter. It's kind of like rewired people's brains. Yeah. No one has the attention span to actually go and read more than a headline anymore. Right. And I think that has negatively affected us. People are now too lazy or don't have the attention spans to do the reading that would back up whatever is just out there for the clicks. Right. You know what I'm saying? So they see a headline under a source that, you know, maybe has a million followers. Well, a million people can't be wrong, can they? So that's how things that aren't necessarily correct get distributed and believed, and, you know, it leads to all kinds of different problems. But
I feel like, and I think that the key, like, the thing that's crazy about social media is it is a refined version of the... I really liked that long gulp of water you just took. You were like,
sorry, I was a little dry throat there. I'm sorry.
You really went hard on that one. It's so funny because, like, you're absolutely right. Like, social media's follower count is almost the equivalent of like a confidence level of somebody just stating something in real life. Because I remember growing up, I forget, like, I could use so many examples of this. I grew up thinking that it was illegal to turn, like, the interior dome lights of a car on while the car was moving. I don't know why this is the case. I don't know if my parents told me. I don't know if...
But
it is
you heard it somewhere.
It is 100% legal to do that. And yet, that's the type of information that I feel like information tertiarily associated with that. You can put pretty much anything online, as long as you look confident saying it, and you have enough people liking it. And by the way, I've worked in this industry. A lot of those likes and whatnot are not real. It's just fake shit that people are paying for to throw up on them.
Yeah, and that's true. People can buy followers, and people
100%.
can, buy likes and buy all these things. But one thing I've learned from working in social media is that most people are not literate in the way social media kind of works. They don't know how the sausage is made. They don't know what goes into a post.
Right.
They just take it for granted. Social media is there. They want to look at pictures of their kids or their grandkids or something like that. And then as they're clicking through on their feed, maybe they see something that someone else has shared, and it looks meaningful, or it tugs at a heartstring or something like that. But the story could be complete bullshit. But they'll like it because oh my goodness, this was on Facebook, so it must be something.
Do you feel like, because I know there's a big discussion about like social media being regulated, and I feel like social media is an example of a technology that would be magnificent for a species that isn't us. Like the entire component around
dolphins would really do great with social media.
Dolphins are dicks, but like the whole concept of like social media's success and failure is defined by the worst of us, not the best of us. It's not defined by the Greta Thunberg. It's not defined.
I think that's how she pronounces it. I don't know.
It's not defined by those trying to use it for the right reason. It's not the grandparents liking it's defined by like the toxic pieces of shit that are just on there spewing hate to get we've accepted reaction as a cultural concept where it's like, oh no, I didn't really mean that. I'm just doing it to get a reaction.
But that gets lumped in with all of this, like all of the actual vetted information, and it's all just one giant word salad. And then people just kind of pick out all the stuff that they think looks good, and people don't eat salad anymore.
No.
So they just pick out all of the junk because junk tastes good. Junk feels good.
So the question originally is the benefits of social media versus the harm of social media.
Sure.
And I think what we're really kind of getting down to is social media good or bad? And I think the balancing act is there enough good that comes from social media to offset the bad?
Well, like any resource like this, if it's used responsibly,
right,
then yes, it is good. Things like the Me Too movement, or being able to get information out during a disaster, or something like that. Yes, that's amazing that you're able to get information from across the world in an instant because someone who's there can tweet it out or put it on Facebook or whatever. That's great. However, when used for nefarious purposes, it can be the most bad that something can be.
Have you ever seen the movie The Social Dilemma? I feel like I brought this up.
Yeah, you know what? The Social Dilemma has been brought up on this podcast.
Yeah, I'm not going to watch it, Jared.
Plenty of times.
It's something that supports my point, but I'm not going to watch it.
I don't want to watch it because it's going to scare the shit out of me. And I don't want to be...
It's really about teaching like resources and tools to navigate it. And I apologize to those listeners who have listened to episode 35 and now have to hear me say this again 100 episodes later. But what's interesting is it teaches you to recognize when these apps are manipulating you.
Sure.
Like as you're scrolling and you're like, bullshit, this isn't what I want. And just as you're about to shut it off, all of a sudden that's the moment where it sends you something good and you're like, oh, okay. It's on purpose. It's testing your limit. It's very similar to dating apps where it's like garbage. I'm so sorry. Not looks, just like not garbage. I was using...
Wouldn't do her.
That's not at all what I meant. I was equating it to the social media.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Just like, no. And then once you're out of like your swipes, then all of a sudden, like somebody amazing shows up and you're like, oh, now I have to buy a rose in order to send it to that person so that I don't... That's how the apps work. You buy roses.
I am so happy that I never had to deal with the apps.
Yeah. And then you send a rose. Like, it's a whole thing. So, my point is that they're all designed to manipulate you. But it's also healthy to know if you're being manipulated. And it's healthy to be able to control the ways in which that manipulation is occurring.
But most people don't have the... What's the word? They don't have the time.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have like I said, the media literacy.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have
the
patience.
Literacy.
Yeah. Well, not everyone is.
And
for the most part, because our attention spans have been so completely fucked by social media, they don't have the patience to go and actually do that specific research that tells them, wait a second, what you're looking at probably isn't the best for you.
Now, when it comes to dopamine hits, you are under the impression that social media...
Yeah.
You know that social media is gamified life, right?
Yeah, completely.
And more importantly than gamified life, it's repetitive looter games that are the benchmark foundation for social media. I've already done this. I've done this before. I'm going to load it up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to try and go through again and see if I can get something slightly better and kind of go slightly better.
One of these days, I'm going to get to the end of the feed. One of these days, I'm going to reach the bottom.
Well, the point I was making is, have you ever gotten to the end of Diablo 2?
Yes, multiple times.
And then...
Yes, but then you start over. You go to the next level of difficulty. And it's not about getting to the end. It's about leveling your character up and getting better equipment. You know how dungeon crawler games work. Come on.
It's interesting how like a lot of these apps have just become so, like, even the like component of something has become so gamified.
Yeah.
In that regard. I think that, you know, different social medias are obviously different things. I think Twitter was such an interesting thing in its existence. Knock on wood. Not knock on wood. What's the thing you say when something's no longer here? Good riddance? Not good riddance.
Garbage.
Eddie Izzard, stand-up comedian who heavily influenced me going into comedy, did a great bit 20-some-odd years ago in his special Dressed to Kill, where he talks about John F. Kennedy going to Berlin. Mm-hmm. And he said there have been studies done. He's British, so that's why I'll put a slight British tone on. I'm not going to do a full impression.
Please.
John F. Kennedy went to Berlin when the Berlin Wall came down, and language is defined. Studies where 70% is how you look, 20% is how you sound, and only 10% is what you say. Mm-hmm. So if you look good and you sound good, it doesn't matter what you say. And John F. Kennedy got on the Berlin Wall. He said, "People of Berlin, I am a jelly donut. People of Berlin are people of the world, and I say to you, ich bin ein Berliner."
Yes.
And the crowd went fucking wild, right? But ich bin ein Berliner means...
I am a jelly donut.
I am a jelly donut. It's a type of donut.
Yeah.
Ich bin Berliner would be I am a Berliner, but ich bin ein Berliner is I am a Berliner, which is a brand of donut. A jelly donut would be like going to Turkey and being like, I am a turkey. Or going to Frankfurt and being like, I am a hot dog.
Yes.
Like, that's what he said. But everybody went wild. The thing about it is, AOL Instant Messenger, from AIM to Twitter, completely redefined this shit.
Yeah.
There is no 70% how you look. There is no 20% how you sound. 100% is interpretation of how people interpret the tone of a text message.
Sure, which is impossible to interpret.
No greater proof of this than the number of miscommunications and arguments that people have had over the phrase "okay."
That's not a phrase. That's a word.
That's a word and a phrase. It is a matchstick to a bomb is what it is. My mom, I love her to death, but can be the worst texter sometime. I love you. Okay. I can't wait to see you. I'll see you soon. I love you so much. Heart, heart, heart. Okay. Period. What is the period about?
So, you mentioned the period. Andrea's niece, just is about to have a baby, or just had a baby, one of the two. Anyway, we bought a congratulations card,
right?
And it said, "Oh baby," and then there's a picture of a little like cartoon elephant, and it said, "So happy for you." Period. Period. That elephant is not being sincere. I don't think that elephant is very happy for me or whoever receives that card.
I think people spent a lot of time wishing that they had bought stock in AIM or AOL back in the day.
Sure.
And I wish that I had bought stock in the exclamation point. I didn't realize how defining that was going to be across genres. I don't know of a corporate email or corporate Slack channel that does not have an exclamation point after everything just to convey excitement and being okay. It's the corporate equivalent
But that's what we have emojis now for. Or just sending GIFs of things in response to people.
GIFs or GIFs?
It's a GIF. It's graphic. G is graphic.
Does it matter that the guy who came up with
I don't care.
Okay.
The word, it's graphic, interface, something. The G in GIF says graphic. So it's a GIF.
I know I'm
And we're not having that argument
we're not.
on this podcast.
We're not.
Because there's no
but
argument to be
You know where
had.
they would have that argument? On social media.
Yeah,
There would be a big argument on social media. Hey everybody, thanks for sticking your ears between two sterns.
Please leave us a 5-star review, even if it's a sarcastic one.
Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Have an idea for the show, or are you also Jared Stern?
Shoot us an email. You can find links to everything at jaredstern.com.